Hello, folks, and welcome to the Upland Forum, where we spotlight the leaders, protectors, and builders of our community. Today, I'm very excited that we are joined by someone who helps people sleep better at night. That's Tammy Farber, who you're going to meet here in a second. She is helping us here in our community to find out what Medicare is all about. But the difference between her and everybody else is that she does it with a smile. So let me bring her up on here real quick. Hey, Tammy, how you doing?
Good, I'm fine, thank you. That made me smile.
There you go. Right? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you taking the time to really educate some of our folks in what you do, because it's important, right? I'm getting to that age where it's like, you really don't want to think about it, but you really have to think about it. So let me start with some real simple questions for you so folks can get to know you. And that's, how did you get started in this world of Medicare, and what drew you to it?
Okay, well, I'll try to make it short because I can tend to talk a lot, but I have always had a huge heart for the aging. Right down to when I was a kid working my first job and going into a Walmart and bringing the senior greeters at the time goodies at my lunchtime. I did it almost every day, 5 days a week. So I've always had a big heart. I worked for Coca-Cola for many years. And when I was laid off voluntarily with Coca-Cola, a girlfriend of mine that worked in this field was like, Tammy, you need to do this. You can talk to anybody. You're great with people. So I said the only way I could do it is if I could actually go into a classroom. And I found the only class that was offered live in the area. And it was literally an eighth of a mile from my house. I walked there.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I felt like it was meant to be, did my training, got in, started this. I got hooked up with a agency that, taught me everything. I am an independent broker, but you need to be with an agency in order to have the multiple carriers that I do. She pretty much mentored me. She's ended up being a very dear friend of mine. So I always have a reference to go to if there's something I don't know. I would never lie to you. It's like, let me get back to you on that one. So I started doing this about a little over 6 years ago, and my husband always tells me every day, or almost every day, I don't know why you didn't do this your whole life. And I'm like, I don't know, because I absolutely love my job. So that's a good thing.
So in the field that you're in, is this, you considered an agent? What do somebody that does Medicare, because you have insurance agents, you have this, you have that. Are you considered an agent for Medicare?
I am a licensed Medicare agent broker. I have my life and health license, so I can do, the life insurance, the new annuities portion of it, but I only do that in convenience if my clients ask me. My focus is Medicare and making sure that my clients have what they need. And if they need to change, they call me and we look for something different.
Awesome. So I'm going to dive into this because to me, this is a brand new world. And I know as I'm getting up there in age, this is probably going to be the same question I'm going to ask you a few years from now, right? And those that are watching, I want to make sure that if you guys have any questions, please put them on the chat. We'd love to address them while Tammy's on here. But I'm also going to be sharing her website. And as a matter of fact, I'll do that here now, so you guys can get a hold of Tammy. And I'm sure she'll be more than happy to answer your questions, always with a smile, right? So that's what separates her from a lot of folks as well too. So in your career, and I'm sure you've touched a lot of hearts, you've helped a lot of people. What's the biggest misconception people have about Medicare or working with somebody with Medicare? Because let's face it, there's, just like in any industry, right, there are those that know their stuff and they're really willing to help, and then there are those that it's just about the numbers, right? And I know the fact that you're the people person with that too. So talk a little bit about that misconception with folks that they need to be aware of.
They need to be careful. There's a lot of talk, and I understand that people respect their families and their friends' point of view, but their friends and their family aren't a licensed agent. So they're going off their own personal, what they hear. Or I try to use this as a good example. When we were kids, we played that game, the telephone.
Mhm.
Okay. So by the time you get to the end, it's changed completely.
Right.
And it might not be that all of the information is wrong, but it might not pertain to them. It could be work on that person that started that story or telephone call. It could be based on that. So it's always nice to work with an agent. Check your agent's credentials. I am the first one to say, this is my license number. Google me. My favorite thing is when a lady called me last week and she said, my sister and I Googled you and you're legit. And I said, well, thank you very much. So I offer my information, where some people won't. They'll hang up if you ask them for your license. You're going to be harassed. You're going to have, once you're in the 65 and you're in that market, they're going to send you mailers. They're going to call you. They're not allowed to do that. You can report them. If it's bothering you, ask for their license number. 8 out of 10 times, they're going to hang up. So I can only reach out to people when they physically give me they call it like a lead card or an interest card. That's the only time I literally call somebody. Otherwise, it's all word of mouth for me.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great tip. I didn't even know that either, that you can actually report them,
Oh, yeah. You can deport them to the state of California for their license. So that's what I'm saying. If you ask their license and they give it to you, that's one sign that they're legit, because they're not, unless they're giving you a fake license, which I don't know if they would, but my license number is on my card, on my emails, everywhere, because I want them to feel secure in what they, give me. They have to give me some really private information sometimes. Right. I can't even tell you how many times people have thrown away their Medicare card because it was automatic. And I had to get that, but the only way I could get the number for them was with their Social Security. So I wanted them to feel confident in giving me that information, but working with them and them getting to know me, I think maybe that makes them more confident in me. A lot of times I'll go meet them in person if that, makes them feel more secure. Sometimes people just want to do it on the phone. So it's really up to them.
So for the I've known you now for a little bit, and words that describe you that I've heard over time has been honest, reliable, and relatable, right? So what do you think has helped build that trust?
My mom, my dad, they taught me good values. I've always been somebody that wanted to help somebody. And I try to live my life as the glass is half full. Don't get me wrong. Don't tell me I'm not going to say that I don't get down sometimes, but there's so much bad going on and people taking advantage of people. It just makes me angry, especially when they hurt my seniors, and they take advantage of my seniors. I get so many of my clients that call me and say, Tammy, I messed up. And I go, what'd you do? Well, I took a phone call and somehow they got a yes or something out of them. They change their plan. They lose their doctor. I had one guy that lost his cancer, his chemo appointment because they messed him up. So you have to just make them feel comfortable and know that they can call me anytime. I have my phone with me everywhere. If I'm in Mexico, which I'm going in a couple weeks, my voicemail has my assistant's number on there. So you can get a hold of me. And as soon as I'm back in the country, I will call you. No question is a bad question. I want you to reach out anytime because everybody's situation is different. And if I don't know, I'm going to find out, but it's teaching me something that I could help somebody else with down the line. So ask away.
So, okay, speaking of asking, right? So for a lot of us who don't really know what Medicare is really all about, I've heard that there's a difference between the original Medicare ride and the Medicare Advantage too. Can you give us like a brief synopsis? What is the breakdown and the difference for that?
Your A and your B, which is your Medicare, that's original Medicare. Medicare covers 80%. If you can keep original Medicare, but you have to get a separate prescription drug plan, so you don't get a penalty on that as well. But why would you want to do that? Because then say you go in the hospital, $300,000, you're going to have to cover that 20% plus your Part A deductible. And I can get into details and give somebody a Medicare 101. But there's supplemental plans, which I call them the PPO on steroids, because people always call them PPOs when they're not really a PPO, but they're better than PPOs. That's the supplemental plans, but you're going to be paying for your freedom. And I can explain more to that. It gets more expensive as you get older. The Medicare Advantage, or the Part C that you hear about right now, is the most popular because they're generally very cost efficient. They're generally free to you. Hospitalizations covered, prescriptions are covered, you get dental, vision, all different things, and all companies are different. So that's where your doctors come in. I would have to get your doctor info, your prescriptions, things like that. And then we find what plan fits you the best. And then ultimately it's your decision to pick it.
So, I keep talking about, because this is fascinating to me. Like, I'm learning now and kind of prepping, but in that same token, I also want to ask you, like, folks that are watching right now, what should people turning 65 or getting close to that age of 65 be doing right now to make sure they're prepared for Medicare? Like, what would you suggest or recommend?
Well, again, there's a lot of factors. Some people are working, and they feel like because they're hearing over the grapevine, just got off a phone with somebody, that they have to enroll in Medicare. If you're working and you have the credible amount, over the 20 employees, then you have credible insurance and you do not have to apply for your Medicare. Now, you will have to produce a form that is signed by your HR department, proving that you had credible, so you don't have that penalty. But you don't. And that's why you want to talk to somebody. I've been working with somebody for 5 years. I kept telling her, stay on your plan, stay on your plan, stay on your plan. She calls me up, she goes, okay, I'm ready. And I've been talking to her literally since I started doing this. And, I'll tell you if you're gonna, what you need to do. If you are on some type of county plan and you get a PERS package, talk to me or talk to someone, because sometimes the county plans or the state plans aren't as good as what Medicare could give you. So you always want to, and I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell you differently because it can come and bite me in my, what.
Right.
I get people that say, well, I don't want to waste your time. I go, you're not wasting my time. How's that? I'm not going to go with you. And I said, do you have friends that are on your same plan? Well, no, mine are kind of different. I go, give them my number, refer me. That's what I do. It's, I help people with Kaiser. I can't enroll you in Kaiser, not yet, but I can, but I still help them because I have friends and family that aren't on Kaiser. And that's, I wouldn't be doing this or helping people if I was only doing it for the money. It's not me. That's why I left the corporate. I was with Coca-Cola. What a nightmare. Everybody thinks it's perfect and it's Coke, and oh gosh, no.
You know what? Let me ask you something. So we're talking about this too. With the clients you have reached over the years and the folks that you've really helped out, what's like a one or two common mistakes you see people make during the Medicare enrollment, or maybe share two nightmares that you've heard of folks before they reached out to you that are kind of a common thing?
I'm working on a lady right now that from a referral, that she lost her Medicare. And she didn't even realize that she did. She lost her Part B because she wasn't collecting Social Security. So she was being billed. And because she had a death in the family, she was away from home. So she wasn't getting that bill. Her mail wasn't being forwarded or what have you. So she lost her Medicare. And now she's in the process of trying to get it back, but she's going to have a 2.5-year penalty.
Wow.
So that's my one horror story right now. And she has medical bills because she thought she had Medicare and she didn't realize. When you're on Social Security, it automatically comes out of your Social Security, so you don't have to worry about it. But I always tell people, when you get that bill, call them and get it put on a monthly, like with your checking account, and just have it so you don't have to remember about it. The other one, The other thing that they don't really have to be prepared. They have a 7-month window. So if your birthday's say in July, 3 months prior to that is when you want to start looking into it. Are you going to retire? What plan are you on with your company? If you have insurance through your company, call me, because then I'm going to ask you what you're paying for this and what are you doing that. It might be beneficial for you to go off your company employer plan and go on to Medicare, because it could in the long run be less. So think 7 months or 3 months prior to your birthday month, your whole birthday month, and then you need to be enrolled if you decide to go that direction by 3 months after your birthday month. So again, if it was July, August, September, October, by the end of October 31st, if you had no insurance, that would be the end of your enrollment period. And then you could start being penalized from there.
So I appreciate you sharing that, because that's also very valuable of folks that, like you said, we hear things from parents, you hear things from friends. Everybody's an expert all of a sudden, right? Until it comes right down to where mistakes happen and everybody just tends to point the finger. But having said that, I also want to give you an opportunity to take a moment, and I want you to think about it. Someone throughout your career here that you've helped with Medicare, but one specific case that maybe really stands out for you, that you really, obviously you make a difference for everyone, but this one case just sticks with you.
I have one gentleman that I've actually gotten 2 different state licenses for. He's become like a friend of mine. He is like a doll, and I've never met him in person. He's up in Ventura County, but because he was homeless and he lived in his car, he moved around a lot. And I'm getting goosebumps. I love him. I've had to change him because he lost his doctor left a medical group. This recent one, he met a woman, fell in love. 2 months later, they moved to Alabama. I got my Alabama license. He was there 2 months and she threw him out. He called me up. He called me up telling me he was so sorry. He'd pay for my license. I'm like, Dave, no way. Don't even go there. Just promise me you won't do that again. Don't be marrying somebody and going across the country. But so it's people like that I become very close to. I had another one that I was coming home from my dad's. I was walking on the tarmac, or what do you want to call it, from Texas. And my client, Mary, called me up bawling. She has onset dementia. Her daughter was moving her to Texas. And she said she didn't know what she was going to do without me. And I said, well, why are you leaving me? She goes, yeah, I told you I'm going to Texas. I go, I have a license in Texas, honey. Then she started crying. Her daughter was screaming in the background. I get goosebumps when I talk about those stories. It just warms my heart, and that makes me do what I do. I love it. So I get very attached to my people.
No, and that's good, because that's the human side of you, right? You're not there for the numbers. You're there to actually connect with folks and making sure that it's a huge difference. So this leads me to, I know we're running out of time. I'll give you one last question. What does it mean for you, or what does peace of mind mean to you when it comes to Medicare and what you're doing for folks?
Knowing that they're getting the care they need, because I don't feel that the aging get the care that they need. Everybody wants to, especially now, the world is so fast, go, go, go. You wait 2 months to get a doctor's appointment in some circumstances, and then they rush you out of there. I have that issue where people rush me out. My dermatologist doesn't want to do this. I have to show them this. They need to feel confident. And when I have people that I find a doctor for, I make it very clear that you're not married to that doctor. That's what I'm here for. If you don't like them, you tell me, and we'll find you another one. Because, especially when people move from out of, from different areas and things like that, they need new doctors. So I research my doctors as best as I can, but that doesn't mean that they're going to have the warm and fuzzies with the client.
Right.
So I just try to get higher ratings as a beginning. I had a lady call me up crying that she finally found the doctor of her dreams and thought me, and I found him on Google. Obviously his ratings were the truth, because she's so happy. And when you're out of state, they don't know that, and I love Deanna. Deanna's my girl. I love her.
She's good people for sure. Yeah, she's awesome.
But yeah, so it's just there's always a case by case thing. My services are free, so feel free to call me anytime.
So let me ask you, we're at the tail end of the show. Are there any last parting words you like our audience to take away?
If you're on Medicare currently, please keep your eyes open in October. There's a lot of changes. I'm sure you're hearing them over the news. Don't go with what you're hearing right now, because nothing's going to be even. I can't even discuss it until October. And I don't even know everything because CMS changes daily. Get your plan checked, talk to somebody, and make sure that you're good where you're at. And if you're new to Medicare, get all your information. Please don't listen to the hearsay or what your friends have, because what you have or what you need is going to be different from your neighbor or your friend or your family. Just do your research, and I'm more than happy to help you do that.
Awesome. All right, folks. And if you're a business watching us today, or if you know of a business here in Upland, please let them know about the Upland Forum. Please make sure that you also share the stream. Make sure that these great resources that we have are not the best kept secret, including Tammy's Medicare with a Smile. So with that said, a big thank you to Tammy Farber for joining us today and bringing clarity, care, and of course, a smile to the often confusing world of Medicare. From breaking down plans to answering the questions most people are afraid to ask, Tammy has reminded us that this is just about policy. It's not just about policy. It's really about people. So if someone you love is navigating Medicare decisions, do not hesitate to tell them that they're not alone. Reach out to someone who listens, simplifies, and truly cares, like Tammy Farber. This has been another great, impactful episode of the Upland Forum. Until next time, folks, stay informed, stay covered, and remember, peace of mind starts with the right guide.